unexplainable, paranormal, conspiracies, and much more. Starring your host and co-host, Jenny Nicasio, Sean Kelly, and Jason Sledgehammer Ian Petro. Brought to you by UPRN Network. Now for your host, Jenny Nicasio.
Good evening and welcome to Chasing Prophecy on FM 107.7 New Orleans, where we discuss anything and everything beyond the scope of normal. Remember to like us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram. I'm Jenny Nicasio, along with Sean Kelly and Jason Ian Petro, who's not here this evening. But thank you so much for joining us. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday, buddy. How are you today? I'm excited.
Great.
I am so excited.
Always excited on Thursdays because it's a little bit closer to the weekend. And before we get started tonight, before we get started to introduce our guest, I want to touch upon the declassification reports on UFOs. What we know now. Now, I'm not sure because I don't think we've learned anything that we didn't already know. But, Sean, we do know that it's not China, it's not Russia, and it's not ours. Did you happen to see the UFO declassification special live on the Discovery Channel and what is it, Travel Channel? Did you happen to see that?
No, I have not.
You didn't?
I was busy doing something else. I was meant to see it, but I didn't.
Well, you didn't miss much, so I just wanted to say that. I wasn't too impressed.
Okay.
But all I can say is we don't know very much than we already knew. And that there is something out there, and I'm hoping they are, non-human, and I'm hoping they are friendly. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about this because all my promotional material went out, and we're going to revisit the hallowed battleground of Gettysburg and discuss this, energies left behind with Brigid Good of Gettysburg Ghost Girls and Maria. So go ahead and introduce them, Sean, and give us a warm welcome.
Oh, hi. Yes, welcome, ladies. It's nice to see you, Brigid. It's been a long time.
Hey, how are you, Shawnee?
I'm doing all right.
Go ahead, Sean. Go ahead, do with your intro for us.
Okay, this is for Brigid, with over 30 years of dedicated experience in the supernatural field. When Brigid Good is involved, it is usually now I can't get it. There we go. Extreme is usually an extreme haunting, as she has a knack for discovering these types of cases. There is nothing more than she loves than to bring the light seriously, sometimes malevolent cases to helping clients, BIA debunking or assuring the homeowners, and clients of what is actually occurring at the location. Brigid is the CEO and owner of the Ghost Gals diverse female supernatural team. Okay, I'm getting there, ladies. And
well, give us a little bit about Maria.
Okay, I was going to get Maria right now. Okay, Maria Schmidt, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, I'm glad that you all are on. Maria, she is the CEO of both Haunted Journeys and Mysterious Adventure Tours. Also found of the National Ghost Hunting Day and world's largest ghost hunt. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. She also is part of this, is it Sinis Tour? Is that how you pronounce it? Mm-hmm. Sinis? For an Halloween experience of New Orleans. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome, guys. So happy to have you, Brigid and Maria.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Well, first of all, let's just talk a little bit about Maria, what you did, what your tours are, and then we'll just jump into a little bit of Gettysburg. And Brigid, you can join us and let us know what you have to say about all this supernatural stuff. And I just love your website. There's so much to do. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And we're hoping that we can fill a niche or a gap in the tourism business. It all started a few years back when my husband and I owned one of the most haunted inns in Florida. It was the Seven Sisters Inn, and we decided, well, it was an old Victorian, and we decided that it was important to push out haunted tourism because even though we were getting a lot of folks in, but some of them didn't like the spooks, and some of them wanted the spooks, but we didn't have a good platform to tell the world that we were spooky. So we created Haunted Journeys, and that's where all the stamina happened because I was not alone. It's very easy in Ireland to sell your spooks because you have guest houses and inns that are 300-400 years old. In the United States, they're pretty much bulldozered. And the ones that remain, the ones that carry history, are the ones that are competing against the big box stores. Yeah, I call them the Holiday Inns, the Hiltons, the Marriotts. And we don't have any chance of surviving. That's what Haunted Journeys was hopefully being able to do. From there, I gather a lot of research, a lot of places that are extraordinary worldwide. Haunted Journeys has about 1,000 listings there, but they're just living there. Hopefully, and I do get a lot of clicks per day on that website. People looking for places to find. But I wasn't really doing anything except really giving them a big voice, a big presentation that they're out there. We have to preserve these people. Sort of kind of what National Ghost Hunting Day is all about, which was established in 2016. But I took it to the next level. I said, let's bring people over to visit these places. And not so much the paranormal enthusiasts, but the people that are interested. They're kind of playing with it. They don't know about it. They wouldn't do it alone. So there's a big market for that. About 50% of the tourism market believe in ghosts. And they love mystery. So I said, well, let's get these folks in. And with this, it's even a bigger horn in preserving a lot of these places that we're going to be going to and bring them over, having them an experience. So we are a hashtag haunted tourism type of business where we will have a anywhere between 4 to 10 days of experiences around the world and in the United States. So far, we've got about 12 trips planned between this year and 22. And we have Ireland and Wales and Scotland and Transylvania and England. We may be going to places like Egypt and Puerto Rico and Cuba. We've got those all stored up for 23. But we can't forget about the United States of America. And one of the two most haunted places in the USA is Gettysburg, New Orleans. So I've got an expert that can cover both of them here.
Yes, definitely.
And that's why Bridge is part of, like what we have, each of these trips, most of them are accompanied by a tour lead, and we call them ambassadors. So Bridge is going to be bringing her fans over, as well as Sherry Benavitti from Ghost Hunters, right? And hopefully they will make the transition of bringing some folks into New Orleans and rocking that town.
Yeah, definitely. So tell us like what you know. Maria, have you've been on the tours have you been doing the tours yourself along with the ambassadors?
Well, we started this right a month or two before they announced the COVID stuff going on.
Yeah.
So it was a bad timing, but it was a good timing because it helped me prepare and make robust, operation stuff that you need for something like this, So yeah, I've been to NOLA a few times. I love NOLA. If I could make another switch to another place to live, it would be New Orleans. It's just a fascinating town. And it has to be it's going to be one of our centerpieces in all of our tours. So hopefully, yeah. So this is a launch off, and I'm bringing some big guns with me. It's going to be held on Halloween. So right after Halloween, we're actually landing on the Day of the Dead.
Yes.
So
that's perfect.
We're going to exploit that feeling of, celebrating the dead in New Orleans to the max.
definitely. Okay, Bridge,
cool.
tell us about what you've experienced at Gettysburg, and you and Sean, because Sean has been there many times, and he's the investigator, and I don't go on. I went on 2 of the ghost adventures, but more on the sci-fi, because I used to do MUFON. So go ahead.
Actually, Sean has investigated several times with me. So Sean and I have been friends for 8-10 years. So it's kind of like, hey, Shawnee.
Hey, Bridge.
I had no idea he was part of the show. I found out yesterday. I'm like, oh my God.
Wow.
But anyway, hi everybody. I'm Brigid Goody. Most people originally know me from the Gettysburg Ghost Gals. Today, though, what I incorporate a lot of my time with is I work production on a lot of Discovery Network shows. I also appear on those shows, but I do a lot of field production work, specifically for haunted locations. I help people with haunted events at haunted locations. I find the impossible for people, and I have a knack for, I don't know what it is. I find,
You're Irish.
Yeah, I'm Irish. That's what it is. We did episode 7 of Ghost Nation. Was their first apparition that they caught during the season. That location was immensely haunted. It was a friend of mine, his antique store, and his home. And then season 2 opener, The Witching Tree. I did that entire episode as well. It's a lot of fun getting into, other than because for 30 years, I've done the paranormal. I have helped families. I love negative cases. I would rather always have a negative case or something where a family really needs help, because let's face it, every other person has a haunting nowadays, but I like getting my hands dirty. I like getting into the evil or the dark things. So, and it's perfect for Sinister, of course. But basically, I mean, living in Gettysburg now here, I think we've been here about 12 years now.
Oh.
And we've done a lot of studying of the battlefield. And I know Maria has an amazing tour with Courtney Reardon, another good friend of mine. Courtney is leading the tour on that through Gettysburg. And I mean, there's so many places, and it's not just the battlefield. I've legitimately, every other building in Gettysburg, we've investigated. So, I mean, over the years, we've just amassed so many investigations, doing studies of comparing the actual history to the actual documented, what we could prove, hauntings on the battlefield, or you can't really prove anything in the paranormal, come close to proving. But I mean, it really is, it's quite the haunted place. And, when you have over in the span of a few days between Antietam and Gettysburg, over 55,000 casualties. And by casualties, that means missing, wounded, or death. So, I mean, how can a place not have that much activity? So, it really is everybody. If you're an enthusiast about historical matters, which I think everybody needs to learn. I don't think kids learn enough about our history in school today, to learn about the Civil War, to learn about why we fought for equality and amongst other things, and against the secession of the South. You look at those things, the history aspect. And if you like the paranormal a little bit, it's a place for you then. It's really got a lot for everybody. There's other things other than the paranormal to do here as well. But, it's a beautiful place. And, that's why I think especially when Maria got together with myself and with Shari, and also, please God, we're planning to do some things in Ireland in 2022 with Anne Massey, who we love. That's my Celtic sister. But it was perfect for Shari and I, because both Shari and I, and I actually have a statement from Shari that I would like to read, since she couldn't be here tonight because she's filming. I'm off this week. Sorry guys, my phone.
It's ours.
Okay. Sorry, lost my phone there. But Shari's filming this week, and I'm home this week, but I also have a little statement to read from her.
Sure, definitely go.
But it's for Shari and I to be doing Sinus Tour. It's perfectly. We love anything dark. We want. Shari is.
Yeah.
I've known Shari for a long time, and I adore Shari. And I love working with the show. Shari comes off very quiet, but she's not. She's an adventurous, fun girl who loves anything dark, and the more haunted, the better. The more so the more active, the better. So, she's a fantastic investigator. She's a great person, good person. Just in general, be a friend with. Everybody loves her, and the difference with this tour that we're doing with Maria, the Sinus Tour, which we derived that name altogether because it was really dark, and Shari and I like really dark things. So,
really?
Yeah. So, the thing with this tour is you are going to have an experience. You may go to conferences, you may go on an event where you meet paranormal celebrities, people who are on TV, and you get to talk to them for a couple of minutes. This is 7 days or however long, might be 9. We don't know yet, but with Shari and myself, and we eat lunch with you. We do investigations with you. If you want to learn how to do something, we have a few spirits in NOAA, and I'm not talking about the ghostly kind. I'm talking about the drinking kind.
My!
We eat dinner, lunch together. We're on the bus together because we're going to take a bus to some of the different locations. You're immersed in an experience with Shari and I for 7 days. It is worth every penny. And if you look on the tour, Maria, there are a lot of different prices. If you want to go only a certain amount of days, say you can only get off 5 days from work or 4 days, everything is allotted for in this tour. So there is no reason why anybody should miss this tour. Who the heck wouldn't want to spend 7 days with Shari and Brigid? Come on. I mean,
I plead the fifth on that one.
Sean, you know me. So we're a ball of fun. We're a ball of energy. There's not going to be another tour like this until we do our Ireland tour, of course. Yes. But, it's going to be exciting. And you're going to see things and places and experience things you never thought you would. But this is jam-packed with investigations, haunted locations. Trust me, everybody is going to love to do this.
One question I have for let me, when you say dark, what do you mean? Like evil dark, demonic dark, or?
Well, you see, and again, this is where Shari and my beliefs are parallel. I know everybody sees on TVs, oh, it's a demon. And look, those cases are like 1 in a million. They're rare. They're not around every corner that you turn. Now, there are a lot of these people who people may think may have demonic possession, actually, sadly, have a mental disease or defect, as they would say in the medical community. I was a lab tech for 30 years. It's so when we say dark, we're talking about, was it a murder scene? Was there, is there talk of evil? Someone claims that it's demonic. Can we go there and debunk it? Because both with Shari and I, it's first science. And what I love is when I am doing an investigation, and like I said, we work really hard at obtaining amazing evidence. And if it means going back day after day after day, if you've listened to the client and there's person's not on medication, they're not taking anything mind altering, they don't they don't hear voices in their head or something, if it's just a total normal case, we'll go back and just keep on trying to obtain evidence. And again, we try and do it in the scientific manner. I'm not a pushover for evidence. I am very hard. I'm very hard on myself, and that's why I don't like still images. I really do like video. I really do like audio. And nowadays, you can usually tell when video's been tampered with. And that's another thing too. After doing this, ask Sean for years, you kind of you're almost self-taught. I mean, back when we started doing it, Sean and I, there were people ghost hunting, but not so many. And you kind of learn these things. I mean, I can hear EVPs, extremely low decibel EVPs that normal people wouldn't hear, but I'll hear them. And you kind of get trained to these things as far as seeing anomalies in video. And what I mean by anomalies, I mean faked. Or you might actually catch a spiritual anomaly, which is a ghost, an apparition, things of that nature. But I'm tough on evidence. So usually if I put something out there, I can back up with a pretty good degree of certainty and or witnesses to what was seen, what was captured, how it was done, how we were meticulous about the scene, and not letting the evidence be tainted in any manner or fashion. So it's it really is. I'm a tough girl, but both Shari and I, anything that's dark, scary, that people have claimed is very evil. If there was a suicide,
tragedies.
Right, Maria. Well said. Anything like that, anything that's dark. And hey, if someone claims there's demonic activity, we'll check it out. We're not afraid to. So,
do you have any priests come with you? Exorcisms?
I actually I do have friends. I've been friends with Carl Johnson. My God, for probably as long as I've known Steve and Jay and Dave for over 20 years. I've been friends with Carl Johnson. Him and his brother Keith and Carl Johnson. They were like on, I forget, like season 1 of Ghost Hunters back in 2006. But a lot of the times I will, if I have a very dark case, I'll give Carl a call and I'll forward it to Carl. Or I do have friends that are within the religious faith and that can help me out with cases. So yes, I do have sources that I do go to, and especially whenever I'm doing anything for TV, I always want those darker cases. So. I don't know. It's like they're attracted to me. I just get these.
Do you have any, something that would stand out that would really put you back, that frightened you? I know I would be very frightened of everything.
I got to tell you what frightened me. Now, when you do field production work, you do the location history, and again, I'm also doing investigations for this too. So I'm a woman of many hats.
Okay.
But when you do field production work, you not only do you do the history and the research on that, I actually will go out and go locally and hire excavators, experts, you name it. Mm-hmm. So for the Witching Tree episode, you know to some degree what you're going to do. We may possibly need an excavator, so let's have one on standby. So I'll hire an excavator, and then we hire dogs, because in the episode it was they believe there was a witch buried under the tree. And this, to me, this blows my mind, because as far as I know, this was the only time this ever happened on television, that a folklore comes true. So long story short, so hired the company that brought the dogs, and one hit. And now Jason called me right after it happened. So I was just like, I was dumbfounded. One dog hit, lay down at the tree, and actually went up into the tree because the dog smelled. When the body dies, and if you have a plant or something over it and the body is decomposing underneath, those materials of decomposition actually grow up into the tree. So the dog was hitting on the upper part of the tree because decomp had gone up into the tree. So one dog hit, then the second dog hit, then the third dog hit. All of them went up, leaned up into the tree. And then when they went back and they luminoled later on in the episode, and there was blood all over the things in the ground under the tree. So, something that to me is really scary, because we could not, at the time, we didn't find any bones. I don't know if the homeowners, Glenda and Steve, who are friends of mine, hi Glenda and Steve, if they were able to find anything yet. I mean, the police had to come out. They declared it a crime scene for a while, and then they had to undeclare it a crime scene. something like that really excites me. Not, it's sad, but at the same time, you're almost proving history and you're proving folklore to be true. So at the same time, it's absolutely terrifying that this woman may have been murdered and buried there and had a witching tree put over her because they thought she was a witch. So you look at these things and that's what makes me I'm so inquisitive. That's why I love doing what I do with production field research, learning all these things, putting together the story, getting together the facts, building everything. The things you find out will amaze you sometimes, really will.
Sean?
Yeah. Wow, that's just like too much. I don't know. Like Brigid said, we go back a long time, and we haunted and we investigated Gettysburg.
Yep.
And to me, where I like to go in Gettysburg is like 12 midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and just walk through the town of Gettysburg instead of going out on the battlefield or Sachs Covered Bridge. To me, going through the town of Gettysburg is very haunted because on the first day of the battle, there was actually fighting in the middle of the town of Gettysburg, and there was a lot of deaths in there. And I don't know. When I go there, see, it's crazy for me because when I go up there, it feels like I'm at home. I feel like I belong there, and it's not just because of the ghosts. It's like I know I'm home. To me, there's two very, very hot spots up there for me, and that would be Culp's Hill and the other one, the bridge, Sachs Bridge. To me, those are the two most haunted things up there in Gettysburg and the town. But I've gone up there for like over 20 years, and every year I go up, it's like I experience more stuff that I haven't experienced in the last 20 years.
Like what?
Really, different ghosts, different feelings.
Did they ever make themselves known to you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Want to share one of them with us?
Oh yeah, sure. Not a problem. I was down there by the high school, Gettysburg High School. And
favorite places.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite places. Yep.
And it was just me. And I'm standing on the corner because I used to go up a lot. And I had an ice cream in my hand. And all of a sudden, this right hand on the Bible, and I said, Jenny, honest to God, I just saw this mist and I smelled this like pipe tobacco type of thing right in front of me. I mean, it was strong. So that is one of them. But there are a lot of other times, like at Culp's Hill, I was filming my TV show, Paranormal Pittsburgh, and we were walking up Culp's Hill, and literally we were getting rocks thrown at us. I have a clip of that. So I'll send it to you.
The ghosts were throwing rocks at you?
Yes, at me and my actors.
Well, why do you think they were throwing rocks at you, to be known, to let people know that they're there, or just to agitate you?
Agitate, scare, whatever they wanted to do. But and it's funny with Culp's Hill. I went out there by myself, and it was a full moon. I have no problem going into dark places. I really don't. And all of a sudden, it was like a real humid 90-degree night out, right? Mm-hmm. And up on the top of Culp's, I'm walking up the road, which is a hill that goes up like that. And all of a sudden, all the trees started to shake. It was like, wow, this is so cool to see and hearing all these trees shaking and stuff like that. But yeah, we had some good times, Bridge.
Yeah, to me, the most active that we've actually, and I base this upon evidence obtained. The most active battlefield is East Calvary Battlefield, which is not even in town.
Yeah.
No one ever goes there. Tour buses don't go there. And it's huge. And my God, the evidence we got. Haven't we gone there? Didn't you go there with me one year, Sean? I thought you did.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We went there.
But yeah, it's the off places. And well, think about it. If you go to the main battlefield, you go to Devil's Den, you go to Little Round Top, you go to Big Round Top. people are all over there. So, you're more likely to get activity where there aren't people. So,
I believe that's
yeah.
one of my rules. Whenever
Yep.
we go do investigate a client's house, or if we go to a hotel of some sort, you hear everybody saying we had experience here, 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 and here. I don't go here, here, and here, and here. I go to other places of the building and set up my equipment.
Yeah.
Because the ghosts, they realize that, hey, they know what you're doing, and you're not the only one that's been there. So they're just going to say, hey, we don't want to deal with these people, so we'll go other places.
Yeah, I've even investigated with Maria. Maria and I did the Pain House together, and Lizzie Borden together years ago up in Rhode Island. We were up at Ocean State Paracon, and we went there and we did that. Remember that, Maria? That was pretty insane.
Do. I sure do. And bringing it back home to NOLA, I want to share I wasn't investigating. I was just walking the streets right outside the French Quarter. And my husband was like 10 feet behind me, because that's the way we want it to be. I'm only kidding. But he was more gazing up, and it was around 1:00 in the morning, and the city was dead. There was no activity whatsoever. No noise, no cars, no people, nothing. No. On a Monday, 1:00 in the morning on a Monday. And I'm walking, and all of a sudden I hear Maria. And I go, as clear as day. And I turn back and I said, what do you need? And he says, I didn't call you. So the fact that I'm hearing a disembodied voice, right, on my first night, that was the night I arrived in New Orleans, and they knew my name. That becomes a little chilling, and I, of course, from that, I didn't, I was not in a ghost hunting mood. I was just basically gawking at the city. And 1:00 in the morning, and Maria, and I was like, okay, now they know my name. So do you know my social security number? You're
lucky they didn't break out in a West Side Story act, Maria.
Yes, if they would have done it, I would have gone, stop. So, but bringing it back, NOLA is when you step into New Orleans. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's like you breathe in spirits, and it's a very strange spirit level, different than Gettysburg, different than anywhere else, because it's almost like a mirage. It's a medley of not just spirits, but spirits that were impacted by slavery, so the Civil War, right? Spirits that practice voodoo. Yeah. And of course, the impact of the vampire. And I call it that trifecta of New Orleans. So we're going to dissect the phantom ones. And, when Bridges were doing something dark there, it's not hard to do dark in New Orleans. Because it's not hard at all. In fact, it's almost like, what do we have that's not dark?
Yep.
So we will be hitting some of the plantations, and that's where a lot of the slavery, you talk about tragedy, and you talk about, so we're hitting the Oak Alley plantation we're doing, and we're actually doing a stay over.
What was that one again?
The Oak Alley plantation. Oh my God, it's considered one of the most haunted plantations in that area. And then we're getting some other ones along the way, but that's going to be like our epic zone for plantations, because it's got an incredible amount of declared hauntings.
Yeah, tell us about that. And this tour begin?
It starts on November 2nd, which is Day of the Dead. And it expands over to, when we leave, we have 7 days and 6 full days of exploring. When I'm talking, Bridge, I told Bridge, I hope you have in your walking shoes, because we're going to pack it full. And we do. We spend about half the time, about 3 days in the French Quarter, right? And then we're going to spend 2 days doing the plantations. Another 2 days outside the French Quarter, because people there's life in New Orleans outside the French Quarter that's very haunted. So we're going to be picking on some really good spots there as well. I'm proud to say that we're going to have some places that really have not been tapped into for investigations. I counted, I think we had like 5 or 6 investigations. So I'm talking about where we stop. Because a lot of the tours that you see out there are like the Halloween tours. Everybody likes to do Halloween tours. And all they do is shove a bus of 100 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they stop in places and say, okay, here's a haunted story. And take a picture quick. Let's get it back on the bus. We're not doing that. We're going to spend a little time with every place we go to.
It's more of I don't like to call it a tour, because a tour is going and visiting places. This is an experience.
Yes.
You're experiencing these things. You're seeing, experiencing, touching, smelling, investigating,
hearing. Maria,
yes.
You know, hopefully.
It's an experience. Tour is a really weird word. I like experience, because
and that's what we call it. That's what we call it, Halloween experience in New Orleans. Mm-hmm.
But I do have a story to share. Russ, him and Jan and his brother and cousins, they went down to New Orleans one time, and it was cold. I think it was for Mardi Gras. I'm not sure. But Russ had a problem with his lungs, okay? And they thought he might have had mesothelioma, okay, because he worked with asbestos and stuff like that. Well, he went down to New Orleans, but before that, the doctor said, go enjoy life, and then we'll get, find out more. But what happens, he went down to New Orleans. It was at night, and he brought his cousin along with him. And they went into where everybody was celebrating. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, this little girl came up to him, this old lady, and gave him a doll. Okay, it had French written all over it. It was like a voodoo doll, I would believe, or whatever. And he put that under his arm, and for the whole night. And when he went back to Pittsburgh, okay, he went to the doctors, and they took an X-ray of where it was supposed to be, or they saw the mass, and it wasn't there.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, it was.
So who was this? Was this a real live person that gave him the doll, or was
real live person?
So it was a voodoo doctor, maybe.
Could have been. See, but he put that doll underneath his arm and got home back to Pittsburgh and took the X-rays or the MRIs, whatever they did, and that thing completely disappeared. He no longer had a mass in his lung.
Just like someone knew my name, someone knew his ailment and delivered something to help him clear up. Good. I mean, that's what I'm concluding from this. How else would you explain this?
Well, I would like to say my name is Brigid Goody, and my ailment is I would like money. So could you please send me some money?
Absolutely. I have the same anemia. It's fiscal anemia. I think that city is very magical. I think there's, whether it's people think of voodoo and witchcraft and all those types of occultish type of activity as being evil or dark. There's a lot of good that came from that,
Right.
So, but it's part of the history of New Orleans. And that is what, with the French, and Brigid should know this, right? With the French influence there, bringing in the Africans and the Caribbean blacks, where they practice a lot of this, non-Catholicism,
Yep.
And meanwhile, there was a Catholic rivalry, right? That also attacked that. So there's a lot of conflicting history, a lot of bloodshed that was beyond the norm. It was quite it's different. The bloodshed there was different than the Gettysburg bloodshed.
There's the picture of the voodoo doll that Russell.
Cool.
Dear gosh.
That is the scariest looking thing I ever saw.
Amazing. I'd love for you to forward that to me because we're spending.
Thanks, Joe.
We're spending an evening doing an investigation of the haunted museum in the French Quarter that's led by the voodoo queen herself, right? Bloody Mary. And I would love for her to see this picture, In fact, if I can have it shipped to me so Bridget and I can get our little money ailment out of the way.
I don't think so, honey.
Let's hold that.
I don't think that ain't going nowhere.
I would like to
hold that
her
thought, Maria.
Yeah. I would like her consult on that doll. So yes.
We're going to hold that thought because I want to learn more about. For somebody who doesn't know who Bloody Mary is, but we have a comment from Cyber Demon 277. He said voodoo is 100% real. I wouldn't do voodoo ever again. And I want to know why. So whenever you get a second, Cyber, could you tell us why you wouldn't do it again? But Maria, go ahead and tell me about the story behind the Bloody Mary. People who don't know about it.
You mean the story behind the building?
Well, why is it so
haunted?
Yes,
there's a lot of reasons. Of course, she conjures a lot of that. Okay, just because of her rituals that she does. That she will be doing a Day of the Dead. We're going to be there, Day of the Dead. So she conjures a lot of these in her rituals that she does there. But besides what she sort of tunnels in, there's a horrific story that happened. It's considered the last tragedy of Katrina, and it was Zach and Addie. Do you know that story about Zach and Addie? It's incredible. So Zach and Addie were a couple that were, they were a little compromised. Drug addicts, prostitution, alcohol abuse. They lived in this building that now is Bloody Mary's Museum. They lived on the 3rd floor, and they had a very, very dark life. You talk about darkness, right? We're going to make Sherry real happy with this place. And what happened is one time this Zach went to a tall hotel in the French Quarter and plunged to his death with a suicide. When they went to recover his remains on the sidewalk, splattered on his little pocket inside of his shirt was a note, and everyone suspected it was a suicide note, and it was, but it was more than a suicide note. They went over to the apartment where now the haunted thing is. He had taken Addie and mutilated her body.
Oh my!
And was boiling her body parts in the stove, boiling water, and all her body parts were on a sink. It was a massacre beyond massacres. And of course, that's the way he led to the body, is through this note. That sink and that stove are on the 3rd floor of Bloody Mary's Museum. So we'll be able to share that.
And you're going to go.
With our team. Oh God, yes.
That, Bridget, is what I call dark.
Yes. See, and that's what I was saying, Sherry, and I'd love to read Sherry's statement if I could.
Yes, absolutely. Read it.
Sure. And for those listeners, whether you know or not, I am speaking of Sherry Marie de Benedotti. And you will remember Sherry from years ago when Jason and Sherry, Steve, and Dave had the show Ghost Hunters on Sci-Fi. And then the show ended. And then the show started again with Grant, but then it ended again. But anyway, so they went on to do Ghost Nation, which everyone probably has seen on the Travel Channel, one of the shows I work on. And then from Ghost Nation, they were offered the opportunity to come back and do their thing over at Ghost Hunters. And who wouldn't? That's Jay's baby. So who wouldn't? So now Jason, Sherry, Steve, and Dave are now back over, and they are currently filming right now, doing Ghost Hunters. And so I said to Sherry, I said, I'd like to talk a little about you since you're not going to be here with us. So Sherry kind of gave me a statement, and it's a kind of a small statement about how she got into the paranormal and what her interest was and how she met Jason. So I'll read that to you. Direct quote from Shari. I've always had things going on, seeing things, etc., but I didn't start investigating until 1996 when I had that experience in my room. I lived in a house that had all these crazy things going on. So I know that there was actually stuff in there. My mother saw an apparition all the time. And we experienced so many things going on, but it was one night when she was fully held down in bed by a full-bodied apparition that actually appeared at the bottom of her bed and held her down. That was the day that made me start to figure out what the hell was going on. So I learned whatever I could, started my own team, and helped other homeowners. And I met Jason and other TAPS members a long time ago. Again, this is Shari saying this, at one of their events when they first started with TAPS before the show, and they've remained friends ever since. So basically, Shari has done season 10 and 11 of Ghost Hunters, Ghost Nation season 2, and now they are, like I said, currently filming the brand new but old Ghost Hunters. And she says hi to everyone, and big shout out to Shari. Hi, Shar. So
great.
But yeah, Shari is a terrific girl, very adventurous. Like I said, she seems quiet on the show, but that's not Shari in real life, in person. No,
I am so proud to have both Shari and Bridge in our tours to kick off New Orleans. I can't think of a pair that would do better there. I'm almost afraid of going with them, but I'll be there. But it's, how amazing is that? And how amazing for our people to, again, experience 7 days with these girls, with these women. And not just ordinary women. These are women that are seasoned, they're hard rock investigators. And to be honest, there's not enough representation of these women in our field. And I've got two of the best, and Brigid was an influence, or sort of like the Ghost Hunters female version. Remember that? I remember that specifically. And that was an attempt. It was a soft attempt to elevate the women's profile in the paranormal. But Sean, with all due respect, women, in my opinion, have more intuition, are clever. They're much more sensitive to their surroundings, and they're not, they are cherry pickers. So they know how to pick and do and come up with the better analysis, in my opinion.
Really?
Not to mention, they would say men with the hunters and women with the cherry pickers.
Yeah,
it's true. But I also want to say that as far as the finances of the haunted, who's our biggest fan out there? Between women. 40 and 45.
Men.
The women age 40 to 45. Very strong, and I can prove those analytics not just by industry standards that are published, but stuff that I get with haunted journeys.
No, I meant who's fans of women ghost hunters. I said men.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So, all the kudos. And, on my ambassadors, I have lots of women, lots of men.
Yep.
But I think the ones that are the strongest as far as are the women.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but we, since we started a little bit late, we have to end now. But I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you, guests, for coming. Beautiful Brigid and Maria, thank you. We will have you on again to talk about Dracula's Castle. So we will talk about that soon. And thank you guys for joining us tonight. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for having us.
And thanks for tuning in to Jason Prophecy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Here we are in the Writers and Illustrators of the Future Lounge at the Author Services Building in Hollywood. It contains a gallery of the writer and illustrator judges, a selection of the awards the contests have received, a library containing novels and art books published by winners and judges, and a selection of photos of some of our beloved keynote speakers and guests. For nearly 4 decades, L. Ron Hubbard's Writers of the Future contest has discovered and nurtured a steady stream of new authors and artists who have changed the face of science fiction. Chosen by an impressive panel of judges, drawn from the biggest names in the genre, Contest winners are given the best possible foundation for a long-standing career. Now in its third year, the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast continues to provide advice and tips from contest judges, industry professionals, and contest winners for writers and artists wanting to take their next step, along with needed inspiration to keep on going. If you are already a regular listener of this podcast, I thank you. If you are new to it, I welcome you to the weekly installment of the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast. This is John Goodwin, your host.
Oh, wow. Well, thank